Hey dreamers, welcome back to your Dream Coach podcast. I'm Shayla Wey. I'm a small business coach, growth strategist, and believer that your dream life starts the moment you lead like you mean it. This podcast is all about leadership, fulfillment, and growth. I'm so excited to share today's episode with you because it's a big milestone, episode 80. And it's been such an incredible journey so far, and I'm so grateful to have you along for the ride. Today's episode is extra special because it's the first ever masterclass from the LFG Business Academy. This recording is from last week's live session where we dove deep into purpose over pressure. We talked about how to set goals that not only drive your business forward, but truly fulfill you. In this masterclass, I'll be guiding you through the process of shifting from pressure-driven goals to purpose-driven ones so that you can build a business and a life that you love. So grab a pen and paper, get ready to reflect, and let's dive into this powerful session. Let's get started. Now, whether you're listening to this masterclass as a CEO, maybe you're currently leading a team, maybe you are a manager in a certain company, or even just an employee that is wanting to level up how they set goals and ultimately looking for more fulfillment and coming from a place of feeling more purposeful. This is going to be for you because this masterclass really is about how to set those goals that are in alignment with our values. So let's jump in. So I know sometimes, and I learned this in my years of leadership, is everybody is really motivated differently. And oftentimes when we're in a leadership role, or even if we're an employee, we just get given goals, or we make goals that we feel like we have to achieve for other people. And although, yes, a lot of businesses do have standards and expectations for sure, we do also want to make sure that we are inspired by those goals. So a way to take a look at this is taking a step back at what it is that you value. Lots of times in leadership, what I learned is I would sort of project what was important to me onto my staff, my team. And again, not everyone is excited about the exact same things. So as a leader, what we want to do is we want to start with the end in mind, is what is the ultimate goal that we are trying to achieve? So if it's in sales, we have obviously sales targets. If it's different growth with clients, right? There's different targets we want to hit. Is starting with the end in mind of what we want to accomplish as a business. Then working that backwards to, okay, in order to hit that goal, hey, what has to happen, and breaking that down. But even deeper than that is getting really clear on what hitting that goal brings to your business. So for example, if we're in sales, what does that allow our team member, our employee, or even for us ourselves to accomplish when we hit that goal? Goals are powerful and important, but we also want to know why. So oftentimes it comes back to hitting a certain amount of money, which is great, but what is that money going to allow that person to do or you to do when you hit that? Is it traveling? Is it investing? Is it being able to contribute, to give back? Is just going really deep with why that goal matters. If it's growth of a business, amazing. That's fantastic. And again, going deeper on why is that growth matter? Maybe growth for your company allows you to create more roles within the business. Maybe it allows you to connect and to serve at a higher level. So there's nothing wrong with having goals that are something that we have to hit. But I want to challenge you to think of this in a way as, how do we flip that goal to be something that we are excited and we're inspired to go after? And the goal is not just about hitting that next benchmark, hitting that next level, hitting that next sales goal, it's a lot deeper. How do we create a goal that excites us from the inside out? And if you're here and you're leading a team, as I challenge you to go back to your team and sit down and work with each of them, is what excites them? What do they love about what they're doing? What's challenging? What does hitting certain goals allow them to do when we get more clear on the specifics? So when we think of what a pressure-driven goal is these are when we have external expectations. So it could be from society, potentially family, competitors, is we feel more pressure to hit a goal. And that's really coming from that outside. And so what happens here is that we can get influenced by comparison, and just even fear of missing out, right? The whole FOMO, okay? And the cost of this is that when we're chasing goals based on pressure, so things like burnout, dissatisfaction, lack of fulfillment, what happens is that it's not exciting. It doesn't feel great a lot of the times when we're feeling forced to hit a goal. And yes, there are many times in business where we do have pressure to hit certain things, without a doubt. But I really do believe from all my years of leadership that there's always a way to spin it into something that's more purposeful. And if you are listening to the recording of this, just encourage you to think back of a time where you felt that there was a goal that was more out of pressure versus purpose, okay? And how it felt to pursue that. So I think we can all agree that it doesn't feel great from a leader perspective to create goals for people that are more of a pressure focus. And it doesn't feel great to be on the opposite end of having a goal that really feels like it's almost a threat. Flip to the other side here, and we start to understand the difference between a purpose-driven goal is that these are goals that align with personal values, your mission or your company's mission, and that long-term vision. So this is where we can start from purpose from the inside. Because when people feel like they're part of something bigger, they're way more motivated than just being told you need to do XYZ. Now, we're still ultimately going to get the same goal, but there's more buy-in, right? There's more of that intrinsic motivation and purpose to create a goal based on the facts and not just feelings. Not feeling excited to hit a goal, not feeling worried to not hit a goal, but really looking at the data. That gives people way more confidence and way more purpose. And then just kind of one-on-one, really getting to know your team. And if you're just a single, owner or a leader and you're like, well, it's just me, myself, and I, then digging deep in to say, well, what is this going to do for me? Right? What's in it for me? What would be the reason that this would be important to hit this goal? And in igniting that inspiration and motivation within us. Because purpose-driven goals lead to greater fulfillment overall and energy and sustainable success. So as a leader, whether we're leading ourselves or we're leading a team of people, it's so important to understand that fulfillment looks different for everybody. And when we can tap into that fulfillment, it's going to create energy because motivation doesn't last. Nobody is motivated all the time. So what we want to get deep with is the purpose, is why are we here? What is the bigger vision for each person on this team, for the clients, for ourselves as leaders? And when we can get really clear on that, that's where we can really drive motivation from that place of purpose. So I want to take a second just to kind of pause and just kind of reflect here. Write down a goal that you have right now that currently feels draining or overwhelming. So I want you to think about how this goal aligns with your values and how can you shift it to align with your deeper purpose. But let's move on to the next part here, how to set purpose-driven goals. So this stems back to what I covered a little earlier with finding our core values, really getting clear on what matters to you. And why this is so important is that when we can really get clear on what our core values are and we can define those, it allows us to make decisions a lot easier and it allows us to get clear on how we show up in our role. So you want to take a minute to really define those core values. This is a great thing to take back to your teams as well, because then it's going to be important to align those goals with those values, both personally and professionally. The second thing is to clarify your long-term vision. So I want you to envision your ideal life and business in, say, 5 to 10 years. Having the big picture makes those day-to-day goal settings a lot more meaningful and motivating. I see a lot of businesses set goals, but they're not sure why the goal is that, because it doesn't always go back to the values. The third thing is to break down goals into manageable, actionable steps. So if we can take the ultimate goal and we can break it down into micro goals that are achievable and less overwhelming, we are going to feel a lot more purposeful about that goal, a lot more excited. And this is, a basic framework, the acronym SMART for setting goals. But I wanted to add on with a little bit of a twist, is how do we set goals that are very specific, something that we can measure, something that is actually achievable, something that's relevant, and something that has a time bound, right? It has a deadline. How do we also just throw in a bit of a twist there? that this goal has also got to be sustainable. It's got to be meaningful and transformative. So when we add those into the puzzle, that allows us to feel more purpose driven. And fourth is to just check in for alignment regularly. So building a routine of regularly reviewing your goals to ensure they still serve your purpose. And what matters to our business now might be different in a year, even 2 years, 5 years. So it's important to just have those check-ins. Then that allows us to course correct when needed, right? So when we think about our purpose is we know that we want to go from A to B, but how that might look might need some course correcting throughout, the journey. Okay. So just keeping those spaces for alignment is going to be really key. One thing that I feel that works best for people that I've coached is starting to create more of a system, a checklist. There are going to be some obstacles that sometimes can step in the way when we are really focused on purposeful goal setting. One of them can be the fear of missing out. We just have to be okay that the goals that we're choosing have that purpose that's in alignment for us, for our company, for our team, and not to get sidetracked on the other shiny things out there. Really staying focused on running your own race and leading your team forward is going to be key. The other thing is perfectionism and unrealistic expectations. I hear this one a lot, and I see a lot of people being held back from hitting bigger goals because they're waiting for everything to be perfect. Now, do I think we should just, throw things out there and rush? No, I don't think that. But we've only got so many hours in the day. And when we can set checkpoints along the way as to this has to get done by this day, let's just do the best we can with the time we have so that it's at least done and it's out there and it's moving forward. And then also what can happen is this burnout. And that's something that we want to avoid by pivoting to purposeful goal setting. I want you to take a minute to reflect back. What's one obstacle that you've faced when pursuing meaningful goals, and how did you overcome it? Okay. Or if you didn't in that moment, how would or could you do that differently next time? Let's talk about creating your purpose-driven action plan. Take a look at what your purposeful driven goal is and start with the end in mind and work it backwards and break it down by actions. So if the goal is to hit XYZ, what has to happen first? Okay. Second, third, fourth, fifth. Okay. So breaking it down so that you actually can see a plan. I coach a lot of people that know what it is they really, really want. And they know that they have the skills to do it. They just don't know how to get there. And so what you're sort of doing is you're creating a roadmap for yourself. You're creating that GPS. And when you think about being in a car, it's great. I'm sure a lot of you can drive, but if you don't know how to get to the destination, we're going to stay stuck. And once we have that roadmap for ourselves, we just need to get in the car and drive a little bit every single day. So that's what I'm referring to by breaking your goals down to actions. Hey, then we want to commit to the purposeful actions. It's one thing to break it down, but we want to go a little further on putting that into our calendars. To be honest, if it's not scheduled, it usually doesn't happen. Okay. And then the third thing is just accountability and tracking. This is probably one of the biggest things lately that I've been really working with clients on is what we track, we can grow. It doesn't matter what business you're in. It's great to get to the end of the year and say, hey, we did X, Y, Z, but we need to be accountable to what can I control? And then what are we going to track? Because what we can track, we can grow. And then we can start to look deeper in the data and say, hey, well, where does this part of the business come from? By doing this, what's created that? And obviously there's many of you with different types of businesses here. So I'm speaking very generalized, but this is something you can do a deep dive on so that you have a system that you yourself, your team, that you can track from a business perspective. I want to recap some of the key takeaways is that the purpose-driven goals, those are what's going to lead to more fulfillment, energy, and long-term success personally in your own life, as a leader, in your team, and your business. And so if you want to grow your company, make sure that every single person on your team has got goals that are really aligned with their core values. Okay. And as a company, your core values, okay, should be one of the key things that you're using when you're bringing people on the team. And then that then allows you to go to that team member, right, or employee and say, okay, based on our company values, why is this goal important to you? And then really figuring out, the 7 levels of why, right? Going really, really deep.
if you're here as a solopreneur, or you're just a leader that's just looking to grow within your own business, amazing. You can do this for yourself and then make your goals in alignment so they're more purposeful. And if you are leading a team or you're a CEO, really diving deep with every single person at every level. Because when you have a full team of people that are fulfilled, they're energized, and they see that long-term success, man, it just ignites, and your business will double, will triple, and will just feel so much more purposeful. And this goes to one of the whole core values of my company is feeling fulfilled. Is how do we help businesses grow? Well, they're enjoying the journey so that they are aligned with their values, their vision, and of course the true purpose, so that we can feel that full satisfaction. And then setting goals aligned with purpose is also going to be an ongoing process of growth and self-reflection. So even though this masterclass might have ignited that a little bit, we might go back to our teams and bring the energy, which I would love to hear about, but it's not a one-time thing. So this is where we want to make sure that as our company is growing, as our teams are growing, as we are growing as leaders, that we are constantly checking in on that ongoing process of growth and self-reflection.
Thank you for tuning into this special episode of your Dream Coach podcast. I hope today's masterclass on purpose over pressure gave you the tools and inspiration to start setting goals that truly fulfill you, both personally and professionally. Remember, it's not just about achieving things. It's about achieving things that align with your core values and long-term vision. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to deep dive, or join me inside the LFG Business Academy, where we're building a community of leaders who are turning purpose-driven goals into real results. You can find the link in the show notes or on my bio at Shayla Wey Coaching. And as always, take a moment to reflect on your goals and remember that your dream life starts with the way you lead, the way you live, and the way you grow. I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Until then, keep leading, keep growing, and keep dreaming bigger.